Welcome to Boxing on the Record with Randy and Chi-Town. Chi-Town, what's going on with you today, man? What you got going on? What's on your mind you want to get off it and put it on the record?
Randy, my brother, before I begin with anything, I have to always say how amazed I am at you and how privileged I feel that you turn off Columbo in order for us to have these types of conversations. And your wife, your dogs, all of them, they know how difficult that is for you to do. And so I truly do feel honored. And then before moving forward, I do want to give homage to one of the greatest YouTube boxing commentators. His birthday's October the 5th. Kurt Sugar Anderson. I called him Sugar Man. I was very close with this guy. We talked almost every day. We used to have late night conversations over the weekend. We would talk about anything. So I pray that all that we do brings honor to his name, especially on this day, and then moving forward. Um, what something that I saw in one of these boxing magazines, if you will, or online boxing magazines, is that Lamont Roach, the gentleman that actually beat Tank, even though they call it a draw, is fighting. I believe it's Pitbull Cruz. So the two cats that gave Tank his quote unquote toughest fights are fighting each other at 140 pounds. And I believe that fight is in December. If I'm not mistaken, I'm just kind of going off of memory. And I just want to say that I do hope that this is a fight that is actually going to happen. And I want Roach to continue to move forward after this. I don't want him or even Pitbull's name to only be associated with Tank, as if this is the only way they could ever be put on. I believe the skills and their boxing ability should be what leads the way moving forward. And I believe Tank did give both of them an opening opportunity for them to showcase who they are so the rest of the world can see. But now that the rest of the world is able to see that, I don't believe that either of their names should be associated with Tank anymore. I think that what they have to present specifically, Lamont Roach, is beyond Tank orientated type of legacy, and I believe that he should continue to fight others and then challenge himself and to build his own legacy. And the reason why I say that is because we do know as a fact that in the Pitbull Cruz fight, the reason why that fight was actually closer than most people expected, it was because Tank did hurt his hand. And that was the one thing I liked about that fight, which I have been saying for many years, is that Tank was forced to show his boxing ability, to show that he can move around the ring, to show that he does have good footwork, that he does have good uh, movement, and he creates good angles. And he did that with that Pitbull fight that really put on display, and I loved it. Um, but most people are used to things just constantly knocking someone out and just going and doing that. So to see that he's actually a complete boxer, which is what Teddy Roach also said at that time, was amazing, was beautiful. And so I had nothing but hope for him moving forward. And I thought he would continue to do that. However, maybe outside personal stuff and maybe the money, whatever it is, got to his head. And I personally feel, especially at the age of 30, whatever he is now, that Tank has wasted his talent. He's wasted those years. In boxing, as we know, the only way you can stay sharp and the only way you can get better in boxing is to actually fight, which is very different than many other sports. Having long layoffs on things, all that does is hurt you in boxing. Fighting lesser competition, all these different people in boxing, that does nothing but hurt you and causes your skills to decline. Tank faced Lamont Roach, who, in my opinion, they thought was a cherry pick. This is another kid that they had move up to fight Tank. And in this regard, because Roach is a tough fighter, he doesn't have all. I will agree to this. He doesn't have all of the technical abilities as far as natural, just that natural talent for those certain technical abilities like Tank does. But he's a good boxer. He's a good boxer, and they did not expect him to be that tough. Lamont took all of whatever Tank had to give to him, and Tank didn't know what else to do. And so when Lamont started coming on, and Tank realized I don't have anything else for this cat, Tank took a knee. That's a standing 8 count right there. But then right after he took his knee, he got and ran to his corner. That's turning your back on your opponent. The knee is a standing 8 that was never given. Turning your back on the opponent is an automatic disqualification that was never given. That fight ended in a draw. It ended in a majority draw. Tank was the A side, so they're going to find a way to make it like that so he can keep whatever, belt, that he thinks he has, so he can keep it that way. But in reality, if that knockdown, him taking a knee, regardless if he was hurt or not, him taking the knee is a standing 8. That's automatically a 10-8 round. That was not given to Lamont by any of the judges. The disqualification we already know wasn't given, and it was probably going to be questionable if they gave it anyway. So I don't think he would have gotten that disqualification. But on the technical boxing, rules, turning your back is an automatic disqualification. But if Lamont Roach would have been given those 2 knockdowns, he won the fight. And then, so for me, that is a loss. That is a fight because I do follow the boxing things, regardless if they called it or not. We know how these judges are when it comes to the A side. It was a loss. And also with that, Tank not choosing, like Floyd did with Castillo, to just take the doubt out of everybody's head and do this immediate rematch. All he's been doing is talking about, well, this, Jake Paul fight has been set up way before that Lamont Roach fight. It was set up himself. So we got to go on with it. We got to do all that stuff with it. Now that Jake Paul fight can be put on hold. That Jake Paul fight can always be there. You need to go ahead and straighten this out so that we can believe in you and then believe in this whole Jake Paul stuff, which you didn't do. And it definitely was set up before this fight. Tank's head probably was more towards that and not really into this, regardless of any of those things. The fact that he has chosen not to do this immediate rematch is a sign of a scared fighter to me, a sign of a person who knows that they lost the first time and knows that they have a great chance of losing again. So let me make as much money as I can and then retire or do whatever I got to do, which is fine. I need him to go on because we can't go off his past hype, how we felt about him before. He needs to just do this and just retire. For Lamont Roach, I want him to do whatever he does at 140. If he loses or wins, still stay at 140, fight some more 140, and then continue to move up so he can still grow as a fighter as well. No need to come back down to Tank. No need to do any of these things. I feel Tank is almost like a Canelo holding up everything down there. Nobody's fighting anybody. And so people just need to forget Tank, ignore him, and just move on. And this is a guy who loves Tank supporter and all these things, but I love boxing more. So I have to speak real about this. And this is one of those sore spots that is true. And it has to be said, no matter how bad it feels or how it comes across. What you got, Randy?
Well, you said Tank gave Lamont an opportunity, which I agree with that. And whether we want to admit it or not, there are going to be times where all fighters get a leg up. Um, Floyd gave Canelo his leg up. They created Tank, so Tank didn't have to get a leg up. They as I've said once before, they made us believe Tank was somebody that he wasn't. They convinced us of that, and once we've been convinced of that, they didn't have to do nothing but sit back, and we spreaded the fact that Tank is that guy. Tank is that guy, but Tank never showed us he was that guy. He never showed us anything to prove that he was that guy for us to say he was that guy. So we ran with the narrative that they painted for us from that Leonard Ellaby and all of them painted for us. So I'm not mad because he gave him a leg up, but what I am disappointed about is the fact that Tank haven't gave us an opportunity to see if he can beat Lamont Roach decisively. That's all we're looking for. You didn't do Lamont Roach. like you did everybody else. And that's what we're looking for. Even if you don't do them like you did everybody else, but at least let us see the rematch so we can see is Lamont Roach just better than you or you was on an off night. So that's what I look at when it comes to that. Um, and you were saying that Lamont Roach um, is not really the best technical fighter. And I'm looking at that also from the standpoint that he may not be the best technical fighter, but what he lacked in being the technical fighter is the fact that he has a lot of patience and he does and stick to what he was taught in the gym to do. And he stay with that regardless of what. He don't get out of character. And I think sometimes being in that position is better than having the skills and the talent because sometimes you got the skills and the talent and you rely on that and you get reckless and get caught or whatever. He probably understand that he can't get caught. He probably understand that he can't get reckless. Um, um, so that's what I like about him. And you're right because you're right about him moving up and not looking back at Tank because Tank can already prove to us that he's just not gonna fight the best. That's just his thing. He's not gonna fight the best. If he feel like you're better than him, he's not getting in the ring with you. That is why we didn't get the T.O. fight. That is why we didn't get the Devin Haney fight when before Devin lost. That is why we didn't get the Lomo fight because he felt like it would have been a fight for him. He want to get in the ring like Canelo. I got to be sure that I'm gonna win this fight before I'm able to even get in the ring with somebody because I don't want to look bad. So that's what I have on that. What you got?
No, Randy, I think you did an excellent job, and I totally agree with you. And the big word that we kind of like are skirting around is that Tank has been for his entire majority of his career strategic in who he fights. And I mean, that's just basically what it is. That's just what the machines behind you. This is what they do when they try to make you this pay-per-view star. They try to get you all this money. They have to be strategic in who you fight. And so he fights. He builds up this buzz. Brings up all these people from lower weight classes, and so let's fight each other. But then when it comes to certain contemporaries, who traditionally may fight at maybe a little bit higher or something. What does he do? He puts a weight clause on them. This is what he did with Ryan Garcia. Do not let nobody forget that. Even though Tank himself walks around at 160, between 160 and 180, and fights at 135, they act like these other people literally are the weight bullies. We are the ones that are here. So I'm gonna put this clause on you to make sure this. Yeah, I mean, it was said before. I was asked this question when it was about the fight. All these things about him putting that weight clause on Ryan Garcia, possibly Ryan being drained. Ryan said that Ryan is not any top fighter at all. He's a top Instagram model. But he does not have the ability. He definitely has He's fast and has a fast foot. He doesn't have the abilities that Tank has, but Tank needed to ensure, that this is a fight that he could win by restricting how much Ryan Garcia could rehydrate. I'm just using that as an example to state that he just like those cats who found a way to become this little A side, a mogul. They find ways of making themselves look good so the crowd can always like them, and so they can always make this money, and much of that has to do with either bringing up small guys like Canelo did, or putting weight clauses on cats that tend to come into the ring a lot heavier. Exactly what Canelo did and what Floyd did, and all this other type of stuff and everything. So on that side, and Leonard Ellaby, all these other cats that managed to did an excellent job. Calvin Ford, his stepdaddy, boxing daddy, whatever you want to call it, he did a good job with believing in his fighter and training him and teaching him. Because I mean, Tank, has skills. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and he's always gonna believe in his fighter. But his entire focus is literally the gym. What we do in the ring. His focus is not on how to make you this A level fighter. That's for other people. I'm only focused on this. And so I'm saying that because he's only focused on that, he himself can have a certain level of ignorance to all of these games that have been pushed down and all this different plays that have been pushed down to make Tank look like he's somebody that he's not. I would have had I would have had strong respect for Tank. I still respect Tank, but I would speak full chested in my respect for him had he fought the top cats in his division when everybody was top in his division. Devin Haney became undisputed. Devin Haney always asked to fight. They never fought. That would have been right then and there. If he would have just fought him at the undisputed, forget Loma. When Devin's undisputed at that division, just to fight him, that would have been ridiculous, and we wouldn't know he was about it. But they found every excuse to come in. Oh, Bill Haney's this. They're all talking like this. We need more money. This. We need this type of stuff. Y'all want to fight across seas. We ain't gonna. What I mean? When it's somebody that you know is going to pose a huge challenge to you, you find anything you can. Oh, that person, they don't use pink toilet paper, so I can't be in the ring with them. Some kind of trash like that. But when somebody that you know is easy to beat, you're like, I don't care. What they come in here with. I got this fool. Even if they're driving a Pinto, I'm gonna take this cat, whatever. But you start hesitating when it comes to cats that are going to give a challenge. So that's what I've been seeing in Tank, and Real recognizes Real. And I know that his hustle is real, his game is real, the false narrative he's putting out with people is real. But what's actually happening in the ring is not real. The cat that we thought he was is gone. That was the dude in the 20s. He never ever became his potential. So it's a wrap. He needs to go ahead and retire, get out of here. Lamont Roach and all the other cats just need to move forward and just leave Tank out of it. Go ahead, bro.
I'm good. I'm good. So if that's all you got, we're gonna get out of here.
Word.
All right then, ladies and gentlemen, we out of here. Like last year.
Peace.